LD3. Der Deutsche, the Old World Patriot.
Not good things either, just the wrong things. I've lost my actual. I can't quite find my presentation, which brought it all down in a nicer fashion. But I've got a lot of the questions in there now with handy. So the pack fundamentally was, where is it? I've lost it again. There it goes. Was as you say, driven by the community through sort of Q&A and what they want to then adopt from the so there was an existing Forgotten North comp as well, which was already linked in the pack, but that was a very, very light comp, in a very brief FAQ of things that we'd answered in the past. Now we're going to sort of go back over that, but actually a lot of that we're going to try to have a much more slimmed down version of Comfac, to be honest, because Confac's huge.
Config addresses everything, every question that comes up. But I mean, for the WTC, we did this also prior, so we condensed the config to the relevant things. Also did this as well for SBOT and transported the relevant questions there. So I have full understanding there. You don't need the full config thing. It's good as a resource for the TO, but if you publish it as a list,
and I think it's more relevant. The Confac's more relevant in the WTC event where you have people from all over the world with lots of different base language, a base different understanding of things. So like probably very different metas and sort of regional or countrywide sort of rules interpretations. So like, in WTC, it's important to have as thorough a pack as possible, because actually you almost need to be able to answer any given scenario, whereas that's less so away from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Let's check the comp maybe. Yeah. So you had region saves are not to be taken on wounds lost to unstable, which makes
that was a question. That was a yes or no question that went out to the sort of the ranked public. That sounds ranked players.
I know what I mean.
Just regeneration, should it be taken on Crumble, yes or no? And I think every single person, including the undead players, said no.
Totally a given.
It's clearly wrong.
I mean, the rumors are pretty on it that we will see this in the next few weeks as well.
Yeah, I think that the consensus is that was removed in error previously.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully that does come back, and then actually that would be removed from any comp we would have in the future for Forgotten North.
The second point is about cannons. You must have line of sight to the target unit or character. You must have line of sight to the intended target. I like the use of intended there. Example given, the cannons cannot target things hidden by terrain. And I discussed this rule with Nikki a lot, and I feel it's quite, either it's unclear or it's a bit abusable, right? I sent you a version where the cannonball stops.
You're right. It is still abusable, but that is only if you give your opponent an opportunity to abuse it. So the intention was, if you're hiding a character behind a forest, someone can't trick shot a cannon and kill that character. However, if a character's hiding behind a forest and you put a unit in front of the forest, you give the cannon the opportunity to shoot through that unit into your character.
So you could basically set the targeting point at the front edge of the unit, intending to hit the trap. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but that still gives cannons play, and also punishes you for poor play, because there should be some punishment, or there should be risk to playing poorly.
Yeah. The thing with cannons is, we talked about this on the LD3 server as well, and I feel that if you take the ability away from them to shoot at things completely which are out of line of sight, as absurd as it sounds, then the cannon factions take a big hit, a hit that might be too big.
Agreed. Yeah, no, I totally agree, because that's the eternal balance with cannons, that they're either too good
Yeah.
or rubbish.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to get that sweet spot with them.
Yeah,
Um,
especially since the cannons actually make up a lot of the power for these factions, or most of the power of these factions when we
Yeah.
think of Empire. Then we have for the vampire counts, we have the mortis engine abilities and buff do not stack, and in addition, vampire counts are limited to maximum 3 screams, which I feel is redundant a lot because
Agreed.
if you
Yeah.
take double mortis, you only have one more scream, and then you do not need the double mortis to enable screams, because so for me this is a nothing burger a bit.
It's probably a bit of a hangover problem from sort of pre 1.5.
Yeah,
I think that the point we're doing with mortis engines is that actually I really don't think any ability for the most part should stack in the game. And mortis engines is one of the very few that doesn't have that caveat in, which is where that came from.
yeah.
Again, it was a simple voting. Should mortis engines abilities in both stack? Yes,
I mean,
no.
I'm
Like,
used to play with renegades anyway, and there it doesn't stack. So maybe I forgot how it is to play against stackable or stacking mortis. That might be, but it's just for me that if you lean heavy into mortis, you want to lean heavy into screams, and it doesn't make sense with maximum 3 screams to lean heavy into mortis.
No, not when you combine the two of them. And I actually think 3 screams could be removed as well, because
Yeah. No one plays 6 scream lists anymore. No one plays that. Ethereal is the far superior way to do it.
Yes.
Or the Graveguard. In general, even if you play Ethereal, we are at the point with vampires where we talk about you go the Scream path, you go the Ethereal path. This is all chaff. You go the Graveguard path with every single list. And this is the thing that makes vampires so strong. In my opinion, as long as you do not touch the Graveguard per se, you leave a lot of power of the vampires intact. I mean, the comp reads very hard for vampires when you compare it with other factions which are barely comped. I do not see a single Beastman comp here.
No comp. Yeah.
Wow, that's just
the only armies comped in it really are cannons in general.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's VC, a light touch on Tomb Kings, just mainly because of the touch on VC.
Yeah. Okay.
And Cathay, and one comp on Bretonia, which is that the Green Knight can't charge when he enters.
Yeah. I think personally, this is partly due to the UK meta, where we saw Beastmen mostly playing evasion lists because Tom, for example, promoted that for the teams. We haven't seen much brick action, and it surprises me a little bit that Camry. I mean, if you have this vampire meta there, then Camry Mortuary Cult is not a problem because the vampires do pretty well into them. And
the vampires couldn't care less about a Ushapti spam list.
Exactly.
So
the vampire infestion the UK faces solves a bit the Camry thing, but I wonder that in this meta you produce there that the Royal Host list should be pretty strong, right? And also that maybe a Toopgat brick could be pretty strong.
Tomb Guard brick could definitely there's an argument. I think Tomb Guard brick might be the best build for Tomb Kings in the future. Depending what is or is not in the next FAQ.
Yeah. We are already brewing again. Denarius, for example, had this wonderful Tomb Guard brick build with 2 Necrosphinxes and a Dragon, which was terrific. Mm-hmm. And I think the Necrosphinxes, or at least the Dragon, shouldn't be used anymore, so you need other stuff, maybe depending on the point reductions, but you need something aggressive to this list, you know? You need something to steer the Tomb Guard in. It doesn't make sense to bring archers with that, or more defensive stuff, or blockers. You need either tons of chaff to close in.
Mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tomb Guard needs an exceptionally aggressive mindset to work. And I can imagine that chariots could be very strong with it. But chariots depend on tons of things, sadly, like even LLOs.
The bloody light chariots they don't have AP.
Yeah. Totem of Wrath,
the lack
thing,
of
right?
Sorry?
Totem of Wrath, or how it's called?
Yeah. Oh yes, yeah. You can but then I think Totem of Wrath on something that already has AP becomes incredible.
Agree. AP3 is the golden thing you want to reach.
Yeah, like
But
Total
you have
Wrath
to
on a
have
unit
to
of
think.
Pegasus
You have to
is
think
disgusting.
in the list with the Tomb Guard prick. You already have the Rakav then on the Tomb Guard and not on the Chariots, so the spot on the Chariots is actually free. And then you can do wonderful supporting charges with that, or threat. It's more about threatening. It's not about killing the opponent because the Tomb Guard brick shot do that. So it could be doable just with 6 or 7
Oh yeah,
targets with the
there
totem.
could be legs. Yeah,
Yeah, you know, just to support the Tomb Guard unit. You could bring a very thematic Tomb Guard list actually, and yeah, we'll see. But yeah, interesting.
I think you probably feel the same. I'm excited about what's coming, what might come. But so that made it sound like I knew what was coming. I'm excited that there's an FAQ coming.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've all heard bits and pieces of rumors, and that's all we have heard.
yeah.
Certainly, all of it.
There was this one French YouTuber who leaked or who gave a fair bit of information out there. And for me personally, I feel right now the game is stuck in skirmish and fly hell. So even if the nerf to the Royal Pegasus is a little bit of beating a dead horse, pun intended, I think it's healthy for the game. You know, should it become a monstrous creature, and I hope that we will see more of these types of nerfs towards skirmishers, flyers, all that. I have this weird fantasy where you can only charge other flyers with any flyer as a skirmisher, and you have to charge on the ground against other units.
I think one of the problem, the fundamental problem with skirmishers, especially the so mobile flying ones like Pegasus, for example, is the 360 vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you took away the 360, I mean,
yeah,
they can't charge. I appreciate that.
Rank them up. Let them move 360 and all that, but you give them only vision, front vision arc, and let them charge 360 against other flyers. Then it's fine.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. I don't have a problem. I don't even have a problem with 360 charge on foot skirmishers, particularly.
Yeah, you could limit this to infantry. You could just limit this to infantry.
Yeah, exactly. I think the issue with that is 360 and the fact that you have a character on him model of 360. I do kind of feel like a lot of these issues would be fixed if things had their forward arc was their forward arc. Period.
But we also have to say, as long as we have the Cathay running wild, so let's see what comes there. We have a fair bit of comp here.
Yeah, I mean,
limited to 1 character balloon or maximum 2 non-character balloons. That's the Clash of Nations comp, which is good. We have no stacking of the modifier. These are like, I don't know a single person who likes to play without these 2 rules. Ring of Jet remove common. Some people claim that this will be in the FHQ as well. I think it makes sense.
I hope so, because having that as a common item is possibly the most ridiculous thing that we've ever seen.
Yeah, people cry when I bring 3 wild types. When I bring 3 wild types, it's too much.
Yeah, yeah. You think wild type spam's bad? I've got this ring that says otherwise.
And not even that. I mean, wild type spam is bad, and then Cathay just brings more shard, which works against my wizards, but not against the Ring of Chat. So that is like double time ridiculous.
It's outrageous.
What I do not understand is the Ogre Loader thing here. Ogre Loaders are considered part of the cannon crew and die if the War Machine dies. If it dies to shooting, in combat attacks must be allocated. I think I missed the last sentence. When I read this rule, I imagined how broken is that to suddenly have 6 or 7 wounds on the cannon. But if I read this correctly, you still can kill the cannon crew in combat separately, and it's only the thing that the Ogre Loader dies when the cannon dies. Period.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, this makes sense. It's worded a bit.
Yeah. So the issue was, and I think to be fair, this has always been a rule. If anyone ever actually used Orc Bullies, but nobody ever used Orc Bullies because they don't need to when they're rubbish. But Ogres.
That is not correct. After my first game with Orcs and Goblins, where I had 3 War Machines fleeing off the map, I swore to myself I will always ever play 1 Orc Bully. Yeah.
But because technically speaking, they're characters that become part of the crew.
Yeah.
So I think we were seeing a concern where the cannon was being, say, shot and killed, and then
the Ogre
Loaders
runs around. Yeah, sure. He runs around and goes wild. Yeah.
Yeah, which is just nonsense. Like you're buying them as a crew, an upgrade to the crew, which is
Yeah,
where that came from.
I do agree. I do agree. So I think it's convenience and it makes sense. It's
Yes.
not game breaking to have him do that. It's
No.
but people are shaking their heads, and yeah, Bretonia One is also feel good comp that is okay. And what is very very interesting is here from the UK and I chair additional comp, and
So this came up. This section of the comp in red was this a section of the comp that sort of going to backtrack on myself from a lot earlier. This bit wasn't voted for
this
by the
wasn't
community,
okay. This was not voted
but
for.
not directly. So this came about after
Yeah,
the pack was first drafted, and this came because fundamentally in the UK
yeah,
there was a perceived vampire problem
yeah,
in the
yeah.
fact that they were just dominating every event, and there was a lot of cry on the Discord channels that they needed additional comp. So
I do not
we
not
went,
agree. Yeah,
so we went and got feedback from lots of different people. Um, we, as a Forgotten North tournament TO team, sifted through all the options, and then essentially we provided the UK and I chairs, the federation, with the best options that the community brought forward to us. We then voted on internally, and then we passed it to them to vote for, to see what they wanted to adopt into it as the comp towards
yeah.
the perceived undead menace.
I think about adopting the no reroll of the PSB for German comp instead of the nerf to healing for the Graveguard, because it affects also the Helm of Commandment and it also affects a little bit of other stuff basically. For the Graveguard healing, the version I have in power where you only heal with the caster level instead of the plus
Yeah,
the 3, it's
I,
harder. It nerves the Graveguard resilience more, and this is what I said in the
I
beginning.
prefer your fix to this fix with hindsight, if I'm honest.
Yeah, because that's what I said. You have to nerve the Graveguard. You don't have to nerve the surroundings. And I can
Yeah,
understand this nerve because it's more simple, but it also takes away a lot of play for smaller characters. It forges a 13 build, I
yeah.
feel. And
Well,
yeah,
not only that, but this one it does something that I'm actually against, or in general, which is it fundamentally changes a rule in the game, which is about a reroll, and I'm not a fan of that. And also, it's been, to be fair, Charlie pointed out a fair point that Arise and Nehek exist because Crumble exists. No one in that army in the game takes double losses for losing combat, which is very valid. Now,
yeah,
admittedly, you
but
could also argue that
I
they
mean,
also,
you
they don't
can.
break, they don't run. There's a lot of caveat to it. I actually think the more nuanced fix might be that Graveguard resurrect character level, not plus D3 or something like that. But
Yeah,
this was what we came up with, and it worked to a point.
yeah, sure.
It definitely was felt by the vampire players.
Yeah,
As,
absolutely, absolutely.
as a Tomb King player, it was definitely felt by the Tomb King player as well.
I mean, especially for the Tomb King, sadly, it nerves a little bit the cool builds, but also maybe the too strong builds, like the Tomb
I
Guard
think
brick.
it
The Tomb Guard
hurts.
brick suffers very hard
Yeah,
because the Necrotechs are
very.
hit super hard, the level ones are hit super hard.
Yeah.
So it hits indeed in the right spots, I have to say, for the
It
Tomb
also
Kings.
hits Mortuary Cult a lot.
Yes, yes. But
A lot.
funnily enough, this is not a vampire nerf. This is a Tomb King's nerf. This
It's
is
just an undead. What about us
yeah.
innocent Tomb King players, Andres? Us innocent, good guy Tomb King players were hurt by those
I don't think those
vicious
are such.
vampire
I
players.
don't think these are so innocent right now. And I think they deserve a very precise comp. Maybe you talked about with James about the changes for the Tomb Kings in the German comp,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think this hits the Tomb Kings way more severe than it does to the
yeah,
vampire counts, and it was
I agree.
intended as a vampire counts nerf. So back to the drawing board, and a 0 to 3 limit on ethereal units. Yeah, well, this is interesting then with the max 3 screams and without the double stacking mortis engine. It becomes very interesting how you fill the character points there. With the 2 Benjis, well, basically the only question I have to myself with this pack here is 1 Benji or 2 Benjis? That's the only question I have.
Yeah, and I think that is the only question when it comes to Ethereal, to be honest. What we saw overall is at Masters we had three vampires. 2 went double Banshee, single Hex Wraith unit with their Ethereal allotment. 1 went 1 Banshee, 1 Hex Wraith, and a Black Coach.
Yeah, I think the Black Coach is a little bit of it's. I always when I see it, I think, okay, maybe you could try it again, but I don't think it's that good. When I saw the vampire lists, I was very interested in how your fix actually affects the vampire lists. The first thing I thought was the best list goes to Keith Wilkinson. I liked his list the most, I think.
With the Blood Knights.
With the let me check again if that was the Blood Knights, because he dodged the restrictions by doing that.
Yeah, so Keith took double Banshee, single Hex Wraith, and a unit of Blood Knights.
So Charlie just decided to bring Wargeist instead of Hex Wraiths and brought all the other usual stuff.
He brought Hex Wraiths as well. He was double Banshee, Hex Wraith, and Wargeist.
Yes, you can only bring 1 unit of Hex Wraiths, so he decided to bring Wargeist instead of the second unit of Hex Wraiths, instead of unit of 8, basically, because we just talked about flying and skirmish and all that, and the Wargeists are exactly that. So he just mutated to the next in line when it comes to the cheesy stuff, basically. Then we had, let me see where the other lists were. No.
It was Sam with his he took one Banshee, and he also went with the White King rather than the White Lord.
Interesting.
With Helmet Commandment. Yeah. So he's rolling it on that LD9 without the reroll rather than the LD8.
That is interesting to have that then in the list. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Keys takes 6 Blood Knights and 6 Hex Wraiths, which is very tight on points here. Both units only 6 big. There are the severe risk of dying, and it's a big problem for them. That's why you see rarely this combination. Normally both units are powerful, but the Blood Knights are standalone as a unit of 8 are good, and the Hex Wraiths are good as 7+8. But like this, it's really tough. I thought it's still the best compromise you get here when it comes to the double Benji. So if you want to run the double Benji and you want to run the Hex Wraiths, and you bring a Mortis, then you cannot bring a Terrorgeist, because I would have brought, without the restriction on screams, I would have brought 8 Hex Wraith, a Terrorgeist, and this list basically. So this would be my solution, 500 points by Terrorgeist and 300 points of Hex Wraith. I think it's the obvious solution, to be honest. So actually, the 0-2 screams did stuff here. It nerfed the list a little bit, but it didn't attack the Graveguard.
Well, yeah, I mean, so the thing is, what we post FAQ, this comp as it stands, which is that what we're going to adopt pretty much for Forgotten North or general comp is going to be completely re-looked at from the ground up, in the fact that ideally the less comp the better is our mindset, and the general mindset in most of the UK, that the less you touch the game, the better the game is.
Depends surely on the state, but I mean, most of that what we saw here will be touched by either Games Workshop, or hopefully will be touched by Games Workshop, and everyone hopes for some other light touches. So I do agree. I have to say honestly, and we talked about this already, the game is not in that bad of a state. You can play right now very good. It's certainly a little bit solved, and the gaming style is kind of set, and it's very hard to tweak that, and I'm pretty sure the hardcore cracks will not take long to solve the next iteration as well.
Oh no, never do they?
Yeah.
But I think if you take away in its current iteration, if you take away sort of Cathay vampires and arguably Tomb Kings, plus or minus a little bit of Wild Herd, I actually think the rest of the power level is incredibly good.
Yeah. So these matches, High Elves against Orcs, Orcs against Empire, this is the true Warhammer, the old world we want to play right now. So this is the level where the fun lies, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. The top 4 against each other, or the top 5 against each other,
yes,
are phenomenal.
I would also throw
interesting.
Bretonians in there as well, to be honest, because I still think Bretonians are one of the best armies in the game, because they can count. What they can do is they can counter the other big armies.
Yeah, they can. They have to decide what to do. They have to very precisely decide in which direction they want to go. But they can be a tool, a sharp tool. They're not a blunt tool. They're a sharp tool right now. And
I think Bretonians in the hand of a very good Bretonian player is a terrifying thing.
Yeah, agree. But what I want to say is the top 5 armies against each other is super fun, super great games, and the next top 5 armies against each other is super fun as well. So the only problem is you have basically 2 tiers, and to bring both of the tiers on the same level will be super hard. There you'll need a massive comp, in my opinion, to still cut that. And you have to do both. You have to buff and nerf, and this is what I try to do with German comp. But I have the problem. There's legacy down there, and you have to push it up as well. But for the competitive gaming, or for the base core factions, I think in Warhammer World you're only allowed to take the core factions to the tournaments.
Yeah, you can't use legacy.
It is not in a bad state. It is pretty good. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting to hear about that. What you plan on in the future comp, or how we.
So as soon as we come up with our thoughts and decisions, I will happily reach out and sort of share them with you as well. To let you know sort of where our mindset sits.
Yeah, super interested to hear about that, because I'm always eager to look for ideas also for German comp, which is in fact not a national-wide German comp. It is a name that's stuck online by the people who discussed it when they discovered it first in 2024. I was one of the first to publish comp, I think, and it is based on Lore of Akito. I'm not sure if you still know that, or if you heard of that, which was a German comp system in 6th edition and 7th edition. And it still works. It was like this 0-4 flyer, 0-4 war machine, 0-3 skirmish, all that. And I think the majority of German TOs still plays with these rules and powers. So the baseline, so the first 2 brackets in German comp, where it goes about the units and the unit types, this is the true German comp. The rest is clutter, and the rest is fun stuff I added. But overall German comp is pool comp on unit types still.
Yeah.
And some pool comp for Berlin has it as well. Berlin has a very similar comp, but they have a totally different pool comp than I have. So, but the idea is similar.
Yeah. I think, if we look at what was probably the most successful comp ever in Warhammer, we talk about Swedish comp. Also the single most complicated way to ever write an army list.
Yeah.
But
complicated is good. Yeah. Or
what it did do is it allowed the powerful armies and the weaker armies to find a middle ground, and that's what sort of a pool or a tally comp will do eventually. I think I think Old World is still too young and volatile and live in the fact that we have power, we have these 6-monthly FAQs, that I think a formalized tally comp or pool comp is not required or won't stay accurate for long, is my opinion.
Yeah, true. You have to change it constantly, and this is also a big point of criticism I face, and I have to say to the people, you guys are totally right. It is ever changing. You can barely adapt to the pace of the game, and for 99% of the players, I think having really light comp, which just treats stuff like no region on crumble, stuff like that, or this Cathay stuff you had in there. So I think that is a solid amount of comp you had there. Maybe it is indeed too much for the average tournament player. The German comp is totally excessive. It's way too much. But on the other hand, we also have a few people who play daily online on a high level, and for them. Yeah. The game is solved after 3 weeks, and after 6 weeks, it's boring to always face the same lists, basically.
Yeah, no, that's fair. We looked at very well a good read of German comp, and so because it's so quite wildly different from, in many respects, the game. It would be a really fun one to maybe run in in use in like a narrative event.
Yeah.
Where it's.
But did you play German comp? Did you try it?
I'm not actually playing that. I just
Okay.
read the packs. I don't really play.
But I thought
I don't really
thought
play
that
online.
you can talk to James, for example. I had a game against James.
Yeah.
And it felt like I had this matchup before. I had this matchup once before, and it felt exactly the same. It was just that
Oh, really?
the stuff is just tuned differently. It's like
Yeah.
the difference with the crumble. If you remove the crumble, the regen after crumble, the army still feels the same. You know, it's just one layer
Yeah,
of
yeah,
power
with
which is missing. There one special rule here and there, one stuff there. Or if you build an army list and you try out a new army list, you will not have the solved army list. Like, for example, I'm just right now building a small Nuln force. So the question is, do I take 2 cannons and a tank or 3 cannons? And these types of decisions and these differences, this is more what the difference in German comp is to the actual game. Because you have it like this. But yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But it's strong comp, as you said. It's Swedish comp was similar, excessive, or even more so.
Yeah, more so, I think. But that said, it evolved out of a game that needed an excessive comp.
Yeah.
In 8th edition,
The
particularly.
old world doesn't need it. I do fully agree with
No.
that, and you can have a game.
Yeah,
It is
that's my thought.
I play both. I totally like both. Both the uncomp and the severe comp, and the heavy comp, and this is the main selling point for me, allows me to play casually fun lists on a high level.
Yes, I think that's absolutely fair.
Lizardmen. I can play whatever I want with Lizardmen, and I can just keep up with that. Same for Empire. I can bring infantry bricks with Empire, and I was undefeated with a Pretonia list, just with nonsense in there, partly with trebuchets and all that. So you can basically the aim or the goal of German comp is you can play what you want. Just bring any army list, it will work somehow, and so far this worked quite good.
Good. Yeah, no, I mean the guys like on Team England, I don't know who've been playing in the online tournament have had a good time and enjoyed it, which is good. Like again, the circle back what we said earlier, we just want people to enjoy playing the hobby. So actually,
correct.
Like all power to it in that regard.
I also think, and this is what you said about the vampires in the UK. You only should do the comp you actually need, and you should only do the comp that fits to the player base. So, in my opinion, it is very important that the TOs locally have freedom in their comp, that they can play what they want, not exactly if they want to be part of the ranking.
Relatively,
but you get it, and I agree. So
because you're right, if you've got a meta that no one takes vampires, like for example, you don't need to comp them because no one's taking them.
Right.
But if you live in a meta where I don't know, let's pretend Tomb Kings are dominating the meta, then they probably need reined in because that's you don't want any faction.
But
just dominating.
This is so crazy. I think the vampire infestation in the UK is only because no one plays the Walter Brick there. Walter Brick just goes 20-0 through vampires, especially through the ethereal ones. And it's very interesting. It becomes tuned down immediately as soon as the Beastmen play a big.
It is funny. Like there is quite a Death Star meta in Germany, isn't there? You guys love a Death Star.
Yeah, I think that's mostly Anubis who.
I know Anubis loves a Death Star. Like I love Anubis. That guy loves a Death Star. It goes wrong. I'm a Death Star enjoyer myself.
Yeah,
so,
sure. And I have to say, I built around a lot with, or I tested prior to WTC a lot with Locked and with Denarius. Denarius, he made the Phalanx big, basically. So he plays Death Stars as well, and Locked plays Gravegate. So what should I do? I have to bring a Death Star by stealth if I want to keep up. And
well, I don't know. The answer to the Death Star list, if you can go back to that rock paper scissors, the answer to a Death Star list is often an evasion list.
Evasion, yeah, correct, yeah.
Because what does a Death Star do against evasion? The answer, not a lot, because actually it's a huge block that's going to go chase little models.
That's a big problem of the Tomb Guard Star because it has no reach. And this is the one thing where I'm concerned that you maybe have to spam horse archers and scorpions to be able to get the reach and the speed across the board to be able to do some stuff with that. And on the other hand,
threat, like people can ignore your Death Star.
And the Wild Herd has the Wild Tide. The Wild Herd has the Wild Tide,
yes.
which does that. So it's good with that. But sure, evasion, and that's what I said. We do not have lists that currently can blast evasion lists good enough. Evasion dies normally to shooting. Yeah. So like the Phalanx was an absurd build, which was a Death Star that at the same time shoots like crazy, and you can still evade that because Camry is not that exceptionally fast. The Royal Host, I mean, you have now 2 pricks, which is a bit more flexible, but it's worse against other Death Stars. Yeah, you can have problems there, but still, you can hide from that a little bit, and you can also hide from other stuff which is not flying. So sure, evasion is the way to go. The thing is,
every list should have a counter. That's every list should have should have glaring weaknesses as well as glaring strengths, because that's where then the nuance of the player.
But this is why we do have dwarves. This is why we have the orcs in the meta, which counter then evasion lists a little bit, and stuff like that. So I think the meta, even if it is solved, as in every faction has its role in the big picture, it's still fun because everyone can play. Everyone has something in playing, and let's hope the new FHQ stirs up things, gives us new opportunities, but I don't feel that we need to destroy the
No, I agree. Like the game's in the vast majority of ways, the game's in an incredibly good place.
Yeah. I mean, sure, we don't have to talk about it. Take Cathay away. Nerve the undead a fair bit. Yeah. This is all. When we talk about changes, we already do not even have to say this, because we always think of it. Cathay comp is given. Vampire changes.
Of course, Cathay nerfed. That's just everybody knows that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I think Cathay getting nerfed will be better for Games Workshop. I think it's going to be one of the incredibly rare occasions they will nerf a faction and sell more models.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
A lot of people don't want to play an overpowered crazy faction, because also their friends won't give them games.
Yeah, my Newell army is basically a little bit of a Cathay army. You can see
nice.
Here. Yeah,
I like that.
Or my Griffin Lord is also doubling down as a Shungengan. It's this Age of Sigmar model. Yeah, and I did not buy any lanterns yet, because I don't want to be into this.
You can't be that guy, can you? You don't be that guy.
No. I have
like. It's too good. They're too good.
Yeah. I will not use lanterns. I will use the dwarf airships, and then add
nice as well.
These Japanese sails or these Chinese sails onto them. These.
Nice.
So a little bit of that, and but I did not buy any ones. I thought about building Cathay up, and when Cathay came out, I was a bit excited because I built this Nippon army 5 or 6 years ago without any relevance to the old world, and then it came out, it fits, and I was like, no. No.
Yeah. Whoa! That's awful.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this was the second part of my interview with Scott Reid from Forgotten North. I hope you liked the talk about the comp, the meta, and all that. I hope it was not too technical in this one, or not too biased from my personal views or our personal views, and I hope you enjoyed that content. If you want me to have some talk with anyone else, or if you want to have a talk about certain topics, just let me know and I will see what we can get. Until the next show, would love to stay in touch with you all. See you then, yours Gaunter.
LD3. Der Deutsche, the Old World Patriot.